Hello everyone, my name is Preston Dennett, and tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my book, Not From Here, Volume 1. It's about the more unusual and lesser known aspects of the UFO phenomenon. And I wanted to talk about Chapter 10, which is called Mining Data on UFOs. It's about UFO mine cases, cases in which UFOs have hovered over mines or they've landed. In some cases, there are humanoids, and in some cases, they've actually affected the mines. I think it's a really important aspect of the UFO phenomena and speaks to their agenda, why they're here. We haven't heard a lot about it, and I think this is one of the largest collections put together, and I want to talk about a dozen cases. And let's just dive right in, dig right in, I should say. The first case I want to talk about, and I want to get this all done in like less than 5 minutes, so I'm going to go real fast, is the 1953 Brush Creek encounter in California, in which two titanium miners saw a UFO hovering over the mine. This was on April 20th, 1953. 1 month later, on May 20th, they saw it again, only this time it had landed, and they saw footprints after this thing took off. Exactly 1 month later, on June 20th, this thing came again. This time it was also landed, and they saw an actual humanoid, a dwarf-like creature, carrying a bucket. Since this thing had landed, or was seen on the same day, 3 months in a row, July 20th rolls around, and there's more than 300 people waiting to see this thing. And unfortunately, it does not show up, and that was the last time a UFO apparently hovered over the Brush Creek titanium mine. But it's by no means the only mine encounter. I mean, there is a lot of them. I can't talk about all of them in a video of this size, but let's go through some of the more interesting ones. I mean, there was one in 1952 in the Belgian Congo mines, a uranium mine. This was revealed through a CIA document. There was another really interesting case in 2006, Australia, over the Para iron mine. A bunch of people saw this object hovering right over the mine. But it's Arizona that really kind of cements the UFO mine connection, and that these guys are taking our precious metals. Uh, Arizona, turns out, is the United States' leading producer of copper. And boy, the ETs seem to find this pretty interesting. The Lavender Pit copper mines in Bisbee, Arizona, have had a lot of activity, starting way back in 1947, literally days before the Roswell UFO crash. A bunch of people saw UFOs not only hovering over this mine, but actually landed in an area of this mine called Tin Town. A bunch of employees of the mine saw this. Years later, in 1980, there was another encounter over the same mine. Two workers saw a 100-foot metallic disc hovering right over the slag heaps there, the open pit. And they watched it for quite a while. There were other witnesses until a jet fighter chased this thing away. And only a few hundred miles away from there, a few months later, still in 1980, there was one of the most amazing UFO mine encounters, really of all times, over Morenci, Arizona. There was a copper smelting pit in Morenci, and a bunch of workers were there when this UFO shows up, comes right over the mine, hovers, and sends down a beam of light into each of the smokestacks. And not only that, down one of them it sent down this little probe-like object, a little ball of fire, down into it. So it was clearly interested in this copper smelting plant. And there's so many other cases like this all across the world. Pine Bush in upstate New York is well known for having high levels of UFO activity. Ellen Crystal and both Philip and Brogno, they both found out that there was a bunch of what appeared to be UFO activity over the various mines in that area. which is known to have a number of precious metals, actually. In 1965, in Twin Falls, Idaho, two hunters had an amazing encounter over this mine in which they saw a UFO high up and another one. And this lower UFO went down into the mine, actually hovered over it, and started mining from the slag heap, from the ore that had already been extracted. Very strange, but a very interesting encounter, which was originally investigated by Jim and Coral Lorenzen. So many other mine encounters to talk about. One of the most amazing was investigated by Jacques Vallée, and this occurred in French Gulch, California, and occurred to a couple by the name of the Chapins. And they owned a gold mine up in French Gulch. And they were being repeatedly harassed by these UFOs and this kind of gray type ET, which they actually saw. They had a period of missing time at one point. They saw this UFO on numerous occasions. And not only did they see it, neighbors did. And this thing left samples, which I talk about more in the book on the subject. Probably one of the most impressive cases, I guess, would be that which occurred in Karnes City in Texas in 1971. A really interesting case where this UFO hovered over this uranium mine. And it's a pretty complex case. There was a lot of witnesses. Some of them were brought to tears by the sight of this thing as it hovered over the mine. And the next day they went to remove the uranium where this thing had hovered, but the uranium had somehow already been extracted or spent. This UFO basically took it. A really interesting case. And there's other cases like this. I mean, there was one case in 1989 in Donetsk, Ukraine. I hope I said that right. In which an electrical worker, an electrician, saw two unusual figures about 300 feet below the ground in a mine. And he went up to them because he knew no one else was supposed to be there and saw that they were not human. They were kind of these short dwarf creatures with really pale skin. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And these things actually turned, looked at him, and floated away. So if this is not enough evidence to prove that aliens, extraterrestrials, are taking our precious metals, I don't know what is. I mean, these cases come from across the world, stretching from the modern age of UFOs in 1947 all the way to the present day. So I think there's no doubt that this speaks to one of their agendas, which is to mine the precious metals of our planet. And you can, of course, read more about this in my book, Not From Here. Hope you can check it out. Either way, be aware that these guys are real, they're here, and they're not going away. Bye for now.